So let's begin by looking at the key figures in the 2024-2025 fiscal budget. The national government has been allocated some 2.3 trillion shillings, which will go into financing both the recurrent and development expenditure. And out of that, 745 billion shillings is earmarked for development, being just slightly over 30% of that total allocation for the executive. The other level of government is the counties, and the equitable share of resources to the devolved units is put at 400 billion shillings. You may realize that the Cabinet Secretary spoke of some 444 billion shillings going to the counties. The excess 44 billion shillings is additional allocation that will come from the national government kitty for different purposes. And of course, remember, the government is organized into three arms. The judicial arm has been allocated 24.6 billion shillings, much of which will go into financing recurrent expenditure, meaning operations and maintenance, which also include salaries and allowances. To Parliament, some 44.6 billion shillings is the allocation, much of which will finance the operations of the Senate, National Assembly, and the Parliamentary Service Commission, including what Parliament calls joint services. To another, let's now take a look at some of the major allocations to specific functions or services. The education sector has been allocated some 656 billion shillings, representing nearly 28% of the total expenditure. This will finance all levels of education, from primary to secondary, TVET and higher education, as well as research, each receiving specific allocations. However, more than half of those allocations will go to the Teachers Service Commission, which is 358 billion shillings to pay teachers' emoluments, and that includes some 13 billion shillings to employ over 46,000 junior secondary teachers who have been on internship the past few months. And finally, for now, the security sector has been allocated some 377 billion shillings, and these are resources to finance the operations of the Kenya Defence Forces, the National Police Service, the National Intelligence Service, and the prisons services. And that is just a brief look into some of the big numbers inside the national budget of 2024-2025.